A very good afternoon and welcome again to our Global Entrepreneurship class. Today I intend to talk about communication. And as you know, communication is a very important skill for everyone, but specifically for entrepreneurs. And I've timed the lecture around this time specifically to get you to utilize the knowledge and the skills that we are going to share while you are preparing your campaign to go on Pausable.com. So the outline of my talk, I will be talking about why we communicate, communication media. I'll talk about success framework, which stands for simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, storytelling, and simulation. So a question to ask is, why do we communicate? So why do we communicate? Yeah.
To understand one another.
So we communicate so that the other can understand us and we can understand the others as well. Yeah, very, very good answer. And why do we need to understand one another? Or how, let me ask it differently, how can communication help us understand one another?
To achieve a goal.
Okay, so what is the goal that I need to achieve? To achieve it, I need to communicate. What kind of goal? So if my goal, I'm doing it alone, why would I communicate to you? So what would I want from you so that I achieve my goal?
So you can understand the community around you.
Yeah, so that's okay, now I understand. So how will that help me achieve my goals? So okay, let me make it simpler. What do you think my goal is for this class?
To share your knowledge.
So I think, or let's say you think I do have a knowledge, and I want to share with you. Now, for me to share my knowledge, you need to accept that I have the knowledge. You need to spend time studying so-called my knowledge. So I really need to communicate in such a way that it makes sense to you, right? So we communicate often because we want to influence. We also communicate when we want to develop others. We want to communicate, we want to inspire. We want to communicate if we want to change. So if there is a behavior that you do and I communicate, where's Nasharuddin? So I keep on communicating with him, asking him to come to the front. I was successful for a while, and then slowly he went back. But I'll continue communicating until I achieve the change that I want, for example. We sometimes need to communicate to manage conflict, because I think it's white, you think it's black, but it's white, but you think it's black. You are entitled for your own opinion. Right? But if I can communicate with you and convince you that this is white, or maybe you convince me it's black, or we agree it's gray, then we could manage conflict. So communication is important for all these kind of reasons. When is communication successful? So you know that we communicate to influence, to develop, to inspire. When it's considered to be successful? Is it when I talk and you just like ignore me? Or is it when I say, let's go north, but you understand, let's go south? When is communication successful? Atha, you want to try? Okay.
When the message intended is delivered successfully, as what the sender had in mind, or something like that. Yeah.
Actually, you get it when the intended message is received by the intended audience. Sometimes we want to send a message to this audience, So if another audience received it, sometimes it actually will create issues. Maybe I don't want them to know yet, but the intended audience didn't receive it, the wrong audience received it, and this could actually create other issues. So the message being received is only one stage of the successful communication. So if the message is you are making merchandise and it's good merchandise. So that's one part of the communication. The other part is for the message to stay with the intended audience. So if, for example, my message is I am creating a film, and this is a great film, it's going to have a good impact on the lives of people. Often, if you want to pledge, people won't pledge on the spot. They may pledge later. They may pledge when they are ready. They may ask someone else to pledge for you in the context of crowdfunding. So what we want to do, we want to ensure that this message stays long enough in the minds of people, specifically the intended audience. So the message has to be received and received correctly, and it has to stay in the mind of the intended audience. And finally, it has to create the desired behavioral change. You will find it very interesting that some of the messages is received and is received by the intended audience and get the audience to do exactly the opposite of what you were intending them to do. So these are the three stages or the three things that need to happen in order for us to say we've communicated successfully. Communication was successful. I have communicated well. So if the objective of my communication is I want you to be here on time. If I preach you, maybe you are the wrong audience because maybe you were there on time. But if someone is coming not on time, maybe this should be my intended audience. Now I have to make sure that these people receive the intended message. And I have to deliver it in such a way that hopefully next week they will come on time, rather than they become, I don't know, afraid or offended and then even stop attending my class entirely. So this is how the success of the communication is measured. Any question? So communication media are normally verbal. I could talk, and printed, so I could give you that in a printed way. It could like an ad or a magazine or something like that. Or it could be visual, so I could create a picture. Or it could be through TV, through video, YouTube, and through social media. All these are methods that I could communicate. You could communicate even personally, but also at a business level, at a corporate level, you could communicate in that manner. Now, I want to talk about the success framework for communication. Almost everything that I am delivering today is taken from this book. It's called Made to Stick. And it's a book that I highly recommend to read. It's a very nice read, and it's actually very useful. I find it extremely useful. So Chip and Dan Heath read a book by Malcolm Gladwell called The Tipping Point. So Malcolm Gladwell talks about certain phenomena or certain messages tip. Certain stories become big stories. Certain stories just die out. And he was talking about certain stories can be done or delivered in a way that they stick. There are certain stories, certain messages are very sticky. They stick with you. Some are not sticky. You'll just forget them very quickly. So Chip and Dan Heath wrote this book that they called made to stick. And they analyze what are the characteristics of a message that actually sticks. So they looked at existing messages. So for example, the anti-smoking video that have inspired you. If I were to make something similar, what are the components that I need to put in? Okay, so they worked from some successful messages, and they worked out what makes a message stick. So they find that all the messages that stick often are simple messages. They're very simple messages. They have unexpected elements into them. Then they are concrete. You could clearly visualize them, clearly have them in your mind. They are not ambiguous. They are credible. You could believe them. They are emotional. There's some emotional component to them. And there is a story often behind them. So this is why this is called success. It's simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and has a storytelling element. Because the success has two S, I actually added simulation to it. And I thought this is something that we could also discuss and talk about. So the last S is my only contribution to this lecture. So we will look at different messages and see first, what do we mean by simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, story, and simulation. And also we try to find ways to see how can we make our messages stick. So if the message is, I want you to pledge for my Pozible.com crowdfunding campaign, how do I design the campaign so that it stays with you, so that it hopefully goes viral and more people come to support the cause? Now, I just want to say that it's not necessary that the message has all the components, but some of the components are very important, like simple. Often, what sticks with us is it has to be simplified. It has to be a simple thing. Now, the emotional part is also very important. Now, if you have the simple and emotional, if you add one or two more, then the stickiness of your message will increase. Now, definitely, if you can make it all simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, have a story wrapped around it, as well as is simulated, I think that would be really a very, very sticky message and a great message. So I'm going to take these elements one by one, and I see how we can discuss them. So let me show you a drawing first. What is this? This is a very, very simple thing. Yeah, it's what comes to your mind. There's no trick there. So this is a stick representation of an animal. What is that? A buffalo. Yeah? Where? A buffalo or a bull. A bull, right? Okay. So now, if I go to and if I see this on a toilet, what does that mean? That's a female toilet. It's very simple. Everyone know it, right? Now, why I picked this? Because this is actually a drawing by Picasso. And interestingly, this is very simple. Looks like I also can draw something like that. And if I remove any part of it, it's going to be a bit difficult to recognize that this is a bull. Now, how did Picasso manage to draw this? Now, the process is very interesting. He actually started with this. Then he moved on, removing parts from the drawing, stripping it off, and this still you still can see that this is still a bull, this is still a bull, this is still a bull. Finally, he reaches this, and he thinks that if I remove anything, then people may not even understand it as a bull. So the message here is, for you to make anything simple, you actually have to really comprehend it very well. As a matter of fact, people sometimes confuse simple with easy. Simple is not easy. To make things simple is not easy at all. To make things simple is not easy at all. It's actually quite difficult to make things simple. And it requires a very high level of understanding before you can deploy a simple product or a simple message. Regardless if you are making a website, if you are making a t-shirt, if you are writing a book, if you are delivering a lecture, to make it complex and complicated is very easy. To make it simple is where the art is, where the skill is, and it often requires a very high level of understanding of the entire system for you to be able to say, I could remove this and it still be understood. I could move this away and people will still accept it. So if you have a message that you want to deliver, you need to really strip it to the core. What is the core of that message? What is really the part that this is the part that you want to deliver? And that's how you can simplify your message. So if you make it compact and if you focus on the core, what you will end up with is the simple message or a simple design or a simple product. But you have to really understand what are the parts that you could remove, you could strip off. So what is core, what is not core? That's really the trick. That's really the talent that you need to develop. And another way to simplify, you need to make the concept available in the memory. And that's why often we convert the knowledge that we want to remember very well into poems, songs, because it's much easier to remember things that rhyme, and it's much easier to remember a song. So there are people who would remember the colors of the rainbow because of something that rhymes or because of a song. So you need to make it available in the memory. And there are many ways of making things available in the memory. If we have time, we could experiment with this as well. Now, if you use pictures, then the likelihood of people remembering a simple message. So the message has to be simple first. The message cannot be complex. Very difficult to make it sticky if it's complex. But first you need to simplify it, make it compact, strip it to the core, and then connect it with a picture or an image or a song. If you do that, then it's going to be simple and not, I mean, it's not easy for you, but it's going to be simple and it's going to stick in the minds of the people. Now, I just wanted to share this quote from Steve Jobs. So he says, simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean, to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end, because once you get there, you can move mountains. So this is really what the message that I would like you to keep in mind whenever you have a message to deliver. So I guess later, when you are to prepare a video for your merchandise for the blind, or for your MOOC merchandise, or for your film, you really make it, what is the core that people want to understand? Don't put like 100 things and try to just put them in one. Why would I give you 10 ringgit? As simple as that. Make it simple, compact, and if there is an image around it, or there is music or song around it, just do it. You want to help the single mothers, and you want my money. You want me to pledge. So I am here, your customer. Can you make this message so simple that I could understand it? Now, this is just the first part. You may make it simple and still, I don't want to, contribute. But the key thing is, if you make it simple and it reaches your intended audience, then there is the likelihood that you will successfully achieve your target. So remember, first we wanted the message to reach the intended audience. We wanted it to stay with the intended audience, because often the decision to act upon the purchase, the pledge, won't happen on the spot. But if people keep on remembering it, and then the behavioral change that you want, which is a purchase, which is a pledge that you're looking for, happens, then is going to be, you will have a higher success rate. So that's simple. Do you want me to teach you a technique to remember things? You can create any list, no matter how complex it is, and you can remember it very well. And you will remember it tomorrow, and you remember it a month from today. Do you want me to teach you that? If you want me to teach you, raise your hand. Okay. Give me a complex shopping list. Give me a shopping list. So let's say I will teach you how to do it for 10 items, let's say, and then we will check by the end of the lecture, will you still remember it or not? Okay? Can you give me, someone has the mic? Can you, yeah. Give me like 10 things. You tell me, what do you want to remember? Let's say a shopping list, so you don't have to write it, you will remember it.
Milk.
Milk. Cereal. Yeah. Give this to someone else. So, yeah. Pick something out of this world. I mean, something a bit more complex if you want.
Soap.
Soap. Okay.
Fruits.
What fruit?
Apple.
Apple. Okay. Let me make it complex. How many apples you want? How many apples?
6 to 8.
No, give me a number, so I give you the exact. You remember it exactly. 6 apples. Yes.
A cat.
A cat. You mean cat food or cat? You want to buy a cat. Okay. So you go to the male or female? Male. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What else? Yes. This is not something you will buy. It's just for, if we create a 10 item shopping list.
7-Ups.
What's that?
7-Ups.
7-Up. Okay. 10 or bottle? Bottle. 10. Huh? Dozen cans. Okay.
Anti-dandruff shampoo.
Anti-dandruff shampoo. Two more?
Telescope.
What's that?
Telescope.
Taylor's? Telescope. Okay. Telescope. Okay. One more? One more? Condom. Okay. Ribbed? Okay. So the technique that I'll teach you, is called the memory palace. Okay? So I would like you, please, to play along, and you will find this really amazing. So I would like you to imagine the house where you grew up. Okay? So I want you to imagine the house where you grew up. Have that picture in your mind. It may have a porch, it may have not. Could be an apartment. Just the house that you have grew up in. You spent the longest period of time in. Okay? Now, while you are imagine that you are about to go, so you are now on the street, about to go into your house. Now, there could be your dad's car. Maybe you don't have a car. But as you go in, you imagine when you open the main gate, what do you see? What do you have there? And I warn you, in your mind, to put a swimming pool that's filled with milk. Okay? So you imagine as you go into your house, so maybe if you have a garden, it's in the garden. If you don't have a garden, it's under the shade where the car is. If you have only a small space, you put it underneath the car. You just place it in your mind. Are you playing along? Yeah. Make a swimming pool. The swimming pool could be big, could be small, but make a swimming pool that is filled with milk. See that. See it in your mind. It's white. Okay. Now, as you are looking at a swimming pool, imagine a truck that parks, then unloads 1 ton of cereal into the milk. So you have a swimming pool filled with milk. Now, a lorry, a truck, unloads the milk. So please, you just focus on your house. So his house is different from you. His memory palace is different from you. Now, as you have this cereal in, imagine your favorite movie star, male or female, entirely up to you, in the swimming pool and using a soap bar and washing up him or herself. I leave it to you. You pick the person in your mind. Okay, so you have a swimming pool filled with milk, and there is a truck that just loaded a ton of cereals in, but this lady, just don't care, just soaping herself or himself. Just imagine that. The more graphic, the better. Okay, so I leave it to you. And believe me, these are very effective. These are the techniques that are used in the memory championship. So you imagine, I leave it to you to imagine which body part is being soaped. You use your imagination. The more graphic, the better. Okay? Now, As you move on, you are now about to open the main door to your living room, let's say. As you open the door, 6 apples fall on your head. As you open the door, and it's 6 times. Who put them there? Maybe the guy or the lady that's showering in the milk. I don't know. But 6 apples fall on you. So you have now what? You have a swimming pool filled with cereals. Your favorite movie star or sports star, I leave it to you, bathing there with a soap. And then you ignore all that. You go in, 6 apples fall on you. As you move, there will be there something, a sofa, a table. You have to really imagine it's the place that you are familiar with for you to be able to remember. So what is the thing that either to your right or to your left often is a piece of furniture? Could be a table, could be a sofa. I want you to imagine this male cat purring and, like doing like this on if it's on the table or scratching the sofa, whatever piece of furniture is there. If you have a mirror, make him do that to the mirror. Okay? So you have up to 5 now. Then, oh, this is 5. Oh, we missed 6, right? What do you want for number 6?
Phillips screwdrivers.
Phillips screwdriver. So now imagine the cat holding a screwdriver. So imagine the cat on that piece of furniture holding a screwdriver and trying to open 7-Up cans. You have 12 of them. But the cat holding a screwdriver trying to open, cat, they're not as smart as you are. Yeah. So it's trying to open the 7-Up cans there's 12 of them using a screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver. Okay? Now you go to the bathroom. So you have actually this is the bathroom is going to be your last station. You have anti-dandruff shampoo and you have a condom. You open the condom and fill the condom with anti-dandruff shampoo. Okay? Now be as graphic as you want. I'll be there. I'm going there. You want the things to go? Yes. Okay. Let's go in order. Okay. Let's go in order. You take the anti-dandruff shampoo, and you have a telescope. You cover it with anti-dandruff shampoo, and then put a condom on it. Okay. So let's go. You go in. There is a swimming pool of milk with cereal in it, with someone bathing with a bar of soap. And as you go in, 6 apples will fall on your head while this crazy cat is having a Phillips screwdriver trying to open 12 cans of because it was number 7. 12 cans of 7-Up. Then you just ignore all that. You go to your 3rd station. So you get anti-dandruff shampoo. You bring the telescope. You soak it with anti-dandruff shampoo, and then you put a condom on. Okay, I want you to, on your own, go through that journey in your mind. Take a while. Okay. Own it. Put it in the house where you are very familiar with. Imagine you open the toilet, you imagine where is the toilet, where is whatever, imagine it as exactly the colors, where normally you put the shampoo, take the shampoo, smear it on the telescope and put the condom on. Got it? Okay. I want someone to help us to take a picture of this because I'm going to rub it and I'm going to try to check how successful you are later. Done? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to tell you that there is a journalist who wanted to cover the World Memory Championship. So he thought the best way to do it is actually to try to compete. So he went and trained for a year on all these techniques, and you know what? He was the champion. So this actually, there are ways to build the brain. So I just thought of sharing this with you, but the idea is how can you make something memorable? Through simplicity and through the connection. So this is the first part, which is simple. Now let us take an example. Every year, 2 million children die because of diarrhea. Now, diarrhea is not actually the real cause of death. The real cause of death is dehydration. So if there is a way that we can manage to get the children to get hydrated, then most likely, we could prevent many of these deaths. And to prevent these deaths, all we need is to have a solution that's called ORS, or oral rehydration solution. And this solution is to replenish the minerals that the body is losing while on diarrhea. So if you look at the components within the ORS, the oral rehydration solution, these are the components. They are here. So if we can make enough rehydration solution, then we can actually prevent many of these deaths. Now, excuse me, you look at this table. What do you feel? Is this simple? Is this something that makes you feel like, yeah, let me do it? Sounds like something that is, I could just go and do and help these millions of children that are dying around the world. So this is one way of communicating how to manufacture the ORS. Now there is another way to communicate the ORS, which is a simplified way. Actually, ORS is 1 teaspoon of salt, 8 teaspoons of sugar, and 1 glass of water. If you mix this, then you can create ORS. Which one is simpler? The second one is much simpler. It's something that even a mother in a village could, go about making. But without you realizing what does the body need, you won't be able to reach this. You won't be able to simplify it until you are, now if you have access to a comprehensive ORS, please use that. But there are people who don't have that access, and this is actually good enough to prevent many of the deaths. The key thing here is what we've done, we have stripped it to the core. These are the things that you need. If you just give them sugar, it's not good enough. If you just give them salt, it's not good enough. If you just give them water, it's not good enough. These are the 3 main elements that you need to feed a child with diarrhea. And we made it compact, so no need for all the other things which exist with very minute kind of quantities. So this is how we simplified it. Now, we shall improve this message as we go on. This is yet to be, it's just simple, but not necessarily memorable yet. So we will improve it as we move on. unexpected. So that we finish the first S. The second letter, which is U, stands for unexpected. Now, if you are surprised, what is the expression that happens on your face if you are surprised? And interestingly, there is a reason for this. So we call this the surprise broth, because through that you wanna drink the entire environment. You are ready to. So if I surprise you, you are ready to learn. So if you put the people in a surprised mode, the possibility for them to respond positively to your message is much higher. So if you go to somewhere and you are expecting that there will be a very boring lecture, but instead you have a very interesting performance, then that unexpectedness is very refreshing, will put you in a very good frame of mind to learn. And if you go to, if I give you an exam, or I ask you, or I tell you a joke that you already know, or ask you a question that you've heard like 10 times, people are bored if they know the answer. But if I ask you something where the answer is a bit challenging, we often actually enjoy the challenge. Now, I always use this example. Maybe some of you have heard it before. So imagine that I want to communicate this message to you as students, that on Monday, I'm taking all the staff of the school for training in Kuala Lumpur. And let's say we are spending 100,000 ringgit on training them. There will be people from high-ranking universities who will teach us the latest pedagogical techniques. And everyone is going to go there for the training. How do you feel about this message? Is this an amazing message? Is this a compelling message? Is this something that you'll remember? You go and tell your parents, like, wow, our school is sending all the staff for training. They're spending all the money that they take from our fees on, is that a compelling message? Doesn't sound like that, right? Now, how do I make this more compelling? By delivering it in a way that's highly unexpected. Holiday on Monday. No class on Monday. Sounds like something I want to write about it on brain rewiring. Nasharuddin, I was actually giving a training today to another university, and I show them the brain rewiring. And so I say, my students are great, they really enjoy this stuff, and this thing is working. So I opened the brain rewiring. So he's grateful for apple flavored tobacco, and class is cancelled. So I say, you see, they're so excited about the online component, they don't need the class anymore. That was the reason, right? Yes. You wrote that today, right? So I read the stuff that you put. Yeah. So be careful. No, actually, you be yourself. It was really great. Yeah. So you guys are always grateful when the class is canceled. So just imagine, Monday is holiday. We can sleep. So this is another way of deploying or delivering a very similar message. It's both simple and unexpected. You don't expect the school to send you an email saying, yeah, there's no class on Monday. I think this is not something that and then after that we could say, so good news, no class on Monday. I think you will be interested to read. We would like to tell you that the staff are going for training. When on our school was in SS 15, I walked in a corridor and there was an ad. So the ad is like a A2 kind of thing. And it has, the top part of it, sex, S-E-X. I was like, what's that? How can they put this? So I came closer. So underneath they say, now that we have your attention, we would like to tell you that, the students are having this event and please come. So you need to sometimes surprise people with something, because we have these similar messages, we are bombarded by it. So again, I want to drive this from your campaign, crowdfunding campaign point of view. You want to help the single mothers, the other one want to help the underprivileged children, the other one wants to help, I don't know, everyone wants us to help. Why this is different? Now you have to find a way to make it different, because if you don't make it different, I won't even watch the video. Okay? So make it unexpected. Now, this is radio in a pocket. It may sound like something that, what do you mean radio in a pocket? I have TV and internet and everything now in my pocket. But when Sony started, the radio used to look like that. And at that time, a new technology was about to, it's just starting, that's called a transistor. And everyone was saying this is a new technology, won't really pick up, it's very expensive, maybe used only for military kind of applications. But Sony saw the future of bringing a radio which is that big to a size that you could put it into your pocket. Now that message was really compelling. And Sony founders used it to make customers and also employees, the workers, to really have a vision in their mind. A vision that everyone say, are you crazy? This is a huge thing. How can you put it in a pocket? Because they didn't see the future the way Sony saw it. But it's an unexpected thing that get people to think. Just like for us when we say we want to make the education free, or we want to have a zero impact on the job market. People say, never been done, don't think it can be done, but at least it's a surprising and a fresh kind of vision. So it's an unexpected way. Now, concrete refers to things that I can touch, I can feel. I know if you say things like water, egg, airplane, an image straight away comes to my mind, straight away. Now if I say courage, patience, actually it's very difficult for an image to come to your mind, and often if I push you, the image in your mind will be very different from the image in other person's mind, and because courage is a concept. It's patience is a concept. Integrity is a value. So, but if I say 100 ringgit, that's concrete. If I say a table, that's concrete. If I say car, that's concrete. Now, we as humans, we are able to comprehend and deal with concrete things and remember them much easier compared to non-concrete things. So, let me try with something. If I say gravity, without thinking, what comes to mind? How many of you thinks of an apple? Okay, now, do you know why the apple is associated with gravity? Many people think that, Newton sat there and an apple fall on his head. Do you know that this is actually a story that was created by a great teacher? A teacher, it's very difficult if you think about it. Gravity is, until today, is one of the things that very difficult to even explain. It's very difficult for us. We can visualize the electromagnetic field, but how to visualize gravity? Until today is one of the challenging things to visualize it. I know it's a force that's pulling me, but what's a force? Again, is a non-concrete thing. So sometimes when you have a concept that is not concrete, you need to connect it with something that is concrete. And then the concrete concept becomes a proxy for the non-concrete concept. So instead of, what I'm trying to say. So for example, the other thing that I wanted to add is when you teach subtraction, interestingly, subtraction is actually quite non-concrete. It's very difficult for children to learn it. So if I say 4 minus 2 is 2. I mean, if you recall, it's much easier to learn addition compared to subtraction. But just imagine if I say three minus 1 equals 2. It's much easier to imagine. Now, what you are doing, actually, you are making it more concrete. Now, if you are teaching a child how to subtract, and you say 5 minus 2, they'll think. You say, okay, you have 5 apples. And then, let's say we have 6 apples, since we want to remember that. Okay, so you have 6 apples. And then your friend is hungry, and you give him 1. You are left with how many? It's much easier to imagine that there's 6 apples, you remove 1, you are left with 5. So you need to make things concrete. So we talked about being simple, we talked about making the message unexpected, and we talked about now about making it concrete. Now, one of the things that can make things concrete is pictures. So you could say bravery, courage, but if you put a picture of what we agree on, a person who have sacrificed for the nation, and you say, for me, bravery is this person, then it makes it simpler for people to remember. You need also to bring things to life. So for example, how do we measure how fast the computer is? Technically, what is the term? The hertz, right? So that's how fast is your processor. But actually, what does that mean? So how fast is your computer? How fast is your computer? 2.9. 2.9? What? Hertz. 2.9 hertz? Gigahertz. Okay, 2.9 gigahertz. What about
2.9 gigahertz.
Yours?
1 point something.
1 point something gigahertz. So what does that mean? Is that enough? So I could tell that yours supposedly is faster than his, but that's about it. Now, what if you connect this to how long does it take to start your computer? From the moment you press until
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Well, that's a very long time. Yeah, you need a new computer. Yeah.
15 seconds.
15 seconds. So to me, 15 seconds, still a bit slow. I really want to reach a stage where I press, it turns on. And one day this will happen, hopefully. So if I link the computer speed to something that people can understand, like how long does it take to start up? Or how long does it take to process, for example, your final year project complex work. So this will need 6 hours for you to find that everything is wrong. And the other one, maybe half an hour to say, oh, that's wrong, so let me redo it. So that's how I could say I could process this challenge within 15 minutes while the other machine needs 6 hours. That's actually much easier for us to imagine. How heavy is 3.5 kg? So if I say, how heavy is this? This phone. This is actually not heavy. I could even drop it. And this is Samsung, right? No. This is what?
Lenovo.
Oh, this is the one that's, this is the one that you could drop and nothing happens to it, right? Right? I saw, that's Nokia. But this is even better, isn't it? How did they try that? Like I don't know. You don't know how do they do it? Oh, this one. So this one's better. So this one can, okay. Okay, this one?
No.
Okay, good. So how heavy is 3.5 kg? If you say my, what's the memory of this?
6 GB.
6?
8 GB.
8 gigabit.
Internal memory.
What's that?
8 gigabyte internal memory.
Okay, 8 gigabyte. What does that mean? But if you say I could put 3 hours of video on it, then okay, I would understand this. But 8 gigabit, actually a lot of people, including us, it's very difficult to deal with this. And this is maybe a way that engineers need to improve the way they communicate. So instead of putting all this technical data about how many gigabyte and how many gigahertz and all these kind of things, if you actually put it in a way that your customer understands. So if the customer will use it only to play songs, you say you could put 1 million songs on it, you could download 100 hours of HD video on it. I think that's even more important. They could actually talk about it in a better way. But if we put it in a way that is, not that concrete, can you imagine a hertz? Very difficult to imagine, but you know what does mean 3 minutes of YouTube. So we need to make things concrete, and there is an art behind doing that. So let's go back to the example of the ORS. So do you recall how to make it after we simplified it? 1 teaspoon of salt, 8 teaspoons of sugar, and 1 glass of water. So if I mix it in front of you, so this is salt. Okay. This is sugar, so I need 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And water. So this is, I think this is something that you will remember maybe even more than just 181. So at least now you remember that the lecturer actually mixed it in the classroom, and this will make it a bit more concrete. Okay, so the other C is credible. Now whatever you say people need to believe it. Now they believe maybe either because they think that they have seen it, or maybe you are a credible person, or you bring some other credible person to say, yes, I've tried it and it worked. So people need to be able to believe. And this is called credibility. If the thing that you bring is very difficult to believe, there's no evidence to support it, it's very difficult for us to, no matter how unexpected, so for example, if I say I have this medicine that can bring people back to life, and I put it in an unexpected, simple way, but no one really came back to life after taking this medicine. So it's very difficult for them to believe. There is a lot of evidence against it. So credibility, as I said, could be through the track record that you have. So you are a person, you have been doing this for a very long time. So for example, if Honda say we are going to make a car, we're going to make it an electric car that's going to be able to do how many kilometers for 1 charge. I think people will say, yeah, I think they've done the hybrid, they've done this. So you have some track record. But if I come and say, okay, I'm making a car and I'll deliver it by December, and you just pledge 100,000 ringgit on possible, people say, are you sure? Yeah, because you haven't done it before. But maybe if I do it first, then the next time I will have credibility and they will believe me. Now, if you don't believe that an insurance company will pay your hospital bill, you won't buy your health insurance. If you don't believe that they will pay you if you have a car accident, then you won't use that service. So it's very important that whatever you do, it has to be credible. Now, the credibility here has two parts. One of them, I need to be able to believe that you can help the single mothers. And I need to be able to believe that if I give you the money, you will really use the money for the intended purpose. And that's why the message has to be very credible. And there are many ways to make the message credible. So sometimes the product, they get some, so if you have a skin care product, you could show the patient before and after. We need to be careful because often they will take, I don't know, 100 cases, maybe only one person improved. They'll pick only the person that improved. But the more, so you may get doctors, specialists to talk about it, and if they are credible people, if they are people that the community respects, then their endorsement is very, very useful for your product. And likewise, when you do your campaign, if you can find NGO to back you, that will increase your credibility. If you find someone who has done it before and people do trust him or her, then you get that person to be on your side. So for example, who's trying to do merchandise for WTO? Yeah, so if you get Jack Sim to be on your team, I think he's quite a credible person. People do believe in him and things like that. So I think now for the diarrhea, if we want to make it simple, so we simplified it. We made it concrete. You saw the salt and the water mixed in front of your eyes. How do I make it credible?
Well, actually not dying.
Yeah, so eventually, yeah. But how, can I do it now? So I could say, so my message could be millions of children are dying. This is the formula to help them. Mix it in front of them, make it simple and concrete. And at least if I can prove that people won't die because of it, really good, man. Yeah. then this is going to be concrete. Now, eventually, when we deploy it and we help the children, then that's even better. But if I can show you that this is a cheap, something that is drinkable, it tastes good, and things like that, then it's a start. Oh, I need more. So I want to give you an example for credibility. Barry Marshall is a Nobel-winning scientist that no one has believed him. And I have a video about him. So let's try to play the video. Hopefully it will work.
He was the first scientist who became the toast of the medical world after solving a conundrum that had perplexed doctors for 100 years. Barry Marshall was the
Okay.
I might not see you.
Sure.
Okay. See you again soon. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
His own spectacular discovery. He and his team are about to start human trials of a system which could one day deliver vaccines for everything from the flu to cholera without needles. And he's using an old friend to create the very first edible vaccines. Ross Thomas.
What did I do? Sorry.
This little bug that so many people have in their stomach controls your immune system. You can't get rid of it. So it's possible to load something useful onto it. And it will carry a vaccine into the brain and vaccinate you through the stomach.
Barry Marshall's fascination with an odd little bacteria called Helicobacter pylori has become a lifelong obsession.
Sure.
A journey he now believes will help science revolutionise the way we immunise humans against disease.
Okay. All the best. Okay, you're most welcome. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
to be here for the lunch.
Oh yeah, it was great. I really appreciate it. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I'll speak to you soon.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
Search project, and it all began as an epiphany 10 years ago in Switzerland.
I was sitting in the audience and listening to a vaccine study about HIV and AIDS, which had failed. I said, if only there was a way of getting a vaccine to millions of people for about 10 cents each. How could you do that? And I realised then that maybe Helicobacter was the thing to use. Hey, bro. Good to see you again.
no one else there got to see what I was doing before. So to actually have someone come and ask to see it, I thought was pretty good.
Once a year, these old colleagues meet up for a beer overlooking the Swan River. Between them, they know more about Helicobacter pylori than anyone else on the planet. But for more than a century, doctors have been convinced that no bacteria could survive the acid bath of the stomach. Medical doctrine held that stomach ulcers were caused by stress or spicy food. But Perth pathologist Robin Warren was certain he'd seen bacteria growing in the stomachs of ulcer patients. In 1981, he apprenticed the young gastroenterologist Barry Marshall to see if together they could prove the establishment had got it wrong.
We were having a lot of trouble with people thinking our ideas were mad. I had pretty good evidence for what I was doing. I had some very nice photographs that I could show people, but the clinicians didn't want to see them.
One of their biggest hurdles was that they could not get Helicobacter pylori to infect guinea pigs in the lab. It was peculiar only to humans. And as far as Barry Marshall was concerned, that left just one very unsavoury option.
After a couple of years, I couldn't take it anymore. So I've got to actually prove that these things can affect a healthy human.
He just came along and said to me, you know, let's do it. And I just said no.
Did you draw straws as to who would drink it? You or
Well, I was the only
Robin
person.
Warren?
I was the only person interested in it, and so I did it on myself. My lab tech, he had to brew up the bacteria for a few weeks and put them in the broth and stirred it up, and it just looked a little bit cloudy, and then I sculled it down like a tequila or something. And what's going to happen? Well, nothing happened. Then I started to wake up in the morning and vomiting in the toilet. So I said, hang on a minute, this is a bit unusual. And then finally, on the 8th day, I had an endoscopy where we put the scope down, took the biopsies, and there were absolutely massive numbers of bacteria all sticking to the lining of my stomach. So that was a very exciting day for me. At that point, I couldn't keep my mouth shut. And of course, I spoke to my colleagues, I told them about it, and then I went home and told my wife about it. And she was there, you did what?
That story is now legend, not least because 21 years later, wife Adrian has forgiven him, and Barry Marshall and Robin Warren were awarded the Nobel Prize for their discovery in 2005.
All of a sudden it was pretty exciting because we had a little bacteria which infected 3 billion people, and 10% of those people were getting ulcers, so the 300 million people needed to know about this.
In this freezer at minus 80 degrees are 500 of the million or so strains now identified as Helicobacter pylori. One by one, Barry Marshall scientists are testing them for their suitability to carry a vaccine. So far, their strike rate has exceeded all expectations. They have found 10 strains that appear to act benignly in humans, yet can still be genetically manipulated to carry a strand of foreign DNA from a disease like influenza.
We can take a piece of DNA from, say, a cholera bacteria and put that into our Helicobacter, and then when it's in your stomach, just sitting there, not causing too much trouble, it starts producing the cell wall of cholera. And your immune system looks at it and says, excuse me, I need to do something here, it looks like I'm getting cholera. And so you make antibodies against cholera, and now you are immunised against cholera.
Here he was thinking of H. pylori as a tool, not as a bug that causes a disease anymore. He's using it as a carrier tool for a completely different set of functions. And I thought, yeah, that's Barry, and maybe he's onto something again.
As head of gastroenterology at Sir Charles Gardner Hospital, Hui E is selecting the patients who will this month begin the first round of human trials to test the safety of the chosen strains.
They won't cause the host any harm, and in time, once their usefulness is expired, we can just give them a simple course of eradication therapy and boom, off it goes. So it was just there for a while, carried the vaccines or whatever, and then it's destroyed it.
Do you believe that this could well change the face of human vaccination?
This will change human vaccinations. I think we can do it. Once it's developed, you can make it anywhere in the middle of Africa with a solar panel. You don't really need to have a big factory or anything. And we'll control that from Perth. What have we got on Thursday, Raj?
Even Barry Marshall's ties now bear the stamp of his favourite bacteria, and his life has become a whirlwind of international lectures, meetings of scientific minds and investor briefings. But his vision of a world where children need only sip a drink to be saved from disease is now about to materialise.
What we're standing on is a whole foundation of the barriers of this world, the scientists, the researchers of this world who then create and innovate and make new things that help us to institute or provide better healthcare for more people. And I cannot tell you how many millions of dollars he has saved worldwide in these discoveries, how many millions of lives he has saved with these sorts of discoveries.
How far ahead of the rest of the scientific world are you with this one?
We're ahead. So the problem is you never know what secret research is happening in the other universities. So it's a kind of an exciting long distance horse race, if you like.
So you know what's happening here? This gentleman, he thought he understood why we have ulcer. He connected it to the bacteria, and no one believes him. And he cannot have trials on human, so he just did it on himself. Now, what he wanted is to achieve that credibility. Now, I'm not asking you to inflict harm on yourself, but I'm telling you how getting the message to be credible is extremely important. So again, we said our message has to be simple. If it's unexpected, then you will have that surprise that will get the people in the learning mode. It needs to be concrete and credible. So we still have a few more to go. And the next one is emotional. Now, emotional message is personal, is about you, is about me. It has to be connected to the audience. That's why we need to know who are the people who are your customers that you want them to pledge to either support you or buy the things that you do. And when you are preparing a message, if you utilize names, then and simple everyday details, the message will slowly become more emotional. So instead of saying a lecturer drowned in the lake, if you say Mushtaq drowned in the lake, that will bring some emotions of happiness, I presume. But you see, if you say a lecturer, but if you say a student, but you say so and so, and if let's say if it's again about me, and if you say he has family and his kids go to school, you know, that actually brings that connection with the people. So I give you an example. So see, this is a picture. So this is Akila. So that's her name. And she's 4 years old and she likes her school. When she grows up, she wants to be a teacher. She's one of the children who were saved by the oral rehydration solution. You can contribute to helping other children like her. How? It's 1 teaspoon salt, 8 teaspoons of sugar, and 1 glass of water. So I've constructed a message around a child. When you see the picture, she looks innocent, beautiful. Maybe you've remember other children that you've dealt with, or other children in your family. I told you she goes to school. I told you something about her aspiration, which is to become a teacher. And I told you she was having diarrhea, and maybe the ORS is what saved her life. And if you learn this skill, or if you go and teach the mothers in the inflicted areas that skill, or contribute to us helping the mothers to learn how to make ORS, we could help together millions of children like her. So I've taken, it's the same story. If you notice, the simplicity part is in the ORS, still very simple. but I made it concrete and emotional, so there is a real person that has been saved by that kind of invention that we have created. This is, I guess, a message that you will maybe remember for some time. I used to do this message in two different ways. So previously, I used to really get a picture of a child that is dying. And I say, she's dying because no one gave her that. And the audience used to feel very stressed. They didn't like it. It was very, very emotional. It was over emotional. So you need to convey the emotions in a different way. That's why I changed the image. Some of you maybe attended a similar talk where I used a child that was barely skin and bone. Now, so this is the emotional part. The emotional is about connection, personalization. Now, storytelling is very important. And we always remember a story over a theory or an equation. But sometimes we don't have a story to tell. But the great thing is there are so many stories available online, in the news. So for example, if I want to tell you a story about determination, about a person who makes it despite all the challenges, I could narrate the story myself, and maybe a good storyteller, or I may not be. Or alternatively, I say, let me share a video with you. Now, if you recall, Barry Marshall was a story as well. And I think through that, you will remember now things, because actually, I've done this before, and some of the online students, they say, oh, now we know more about the stomach ulcer and things like that. But what I'm trying to say here, you could actually borrow a story. The story shouldn't be something that has happened to you or something that you personally know. So let me share with you this story that was reported on Al Jazeera.
Gus Philippi has a full-time job as a janitor at New York's Columbia University. But on Sunday, Columbia will award him a bachelor's degree with honors, along with many of the students he's been cleaning up after.
Some of them, they're surprised, and it happened to me. Wait, didn't I see you in my class? Yes. So you weren't here? Yes. Good. It happened a couple of times.
Philippi left his war-torn country of Yugoslavia nearly 20 years ago, knowing virtually no English, but armed with a fierce determination to make it in America. He pursued his dream of a university education by taking advantage of Columbia's offer of free courses to its employees, a university where full tuition normally totals $45,000 a year. Often working overtime, it took Philippi 12 years to finish his studies in the classics.
Many times I did not sleep at home, especially when I had to write papers.
He always, really held his head high because he knew he had multiple goals that he was going to achieve them.
I was mostly with half of my mind thinking about my classes and about maybe one day it's going to be something better.
Philippi says he sent most of his wages back to his family in Montenegro. He regrets that his father, who died recently, couldn't live to see him graduate. Especially, says Philippi, because his dad thought his son wasn't too smart.
I would like that people, when they look at me at this age that I graduated, they do not feel ashamed to go to school.
Philippi says he may not be going back to his cleaning job, but he'd like to stay at Columbia, perhaps in pursuit of a master's degree. Tom Ackerman, Al Jazeera.
So this is something that makes us think. So if, for example, if someone wants to motivate motivate students, students may feel like, I'm 20-something, I'm too old, I have to do a bit of work, I have to help my family, that's why I'm unable to perform. So when you see this, I think it helps us see the bigger picture. So the last S that I sort of added is, if in any way you could bring your message, your product to life so that people could simulate it, could play with it, this is actually a very powerful thing to do. And free trials is something that the companies, toy with. They will give you, they say, okay, try Astro for free for, I don't know, 2 weeks, or I allow you to use this service for a number of weeks before I start charging you for, because they want you to try it to see how good it is. They may send you free samples. So have you received in the mail sometimes free samples of anti-dandruff shampoo? Yeah, maybe it could prove very useful if you have a telescope somewhere. So these are things that you could use. Now, what is that? So the Apple shop always gives you the products to play with them. If you go to IKEA, they tell you, please use our furniture. You go to some places, they say, do not sit, do not touch. While IKEA says, please sit, please touch, please lay down on it. Children, please jump on it. So they allow you to simulate the experience of owning it, simulate the experience of using it, so that actually gets the message even further. Now, as I said, you don't necessarily have to do all the simple, unexpected, credible, concrete, emotional stories and simulation at the same time. But if I were to pick, I think make it simple is extremely important. If you can make it emotional, please do. If you can weave a story around it, that would be great. Anything additional will make your message even more compelling. Now, sometimes when you write when you put the story together, the story itself is also emotional, and it also makes the thing concrete. So it's not like, oh, this part is concrete, this part is emotional. This all has to, just like if you have a symphony, all the instruments are playing together to give you that beautiful music. I really hope while you are preparing your campaigns, you keep the success framework in your minds. So this is actually what I have. Before we end, let's just check if you guys still remember the shopping list. So you will help me write. And who would like to try? So you don't need to tell us the story, you just tell us the things. Okay. So listen and check. Does he remember well?
Milk.
Milk.
Cereal.
Cereal.
Soap.
Soap.
Apples.
Apple. How many?
6.
6.
Cat.
A cat. Cat. Male or female?
Male.
A male cat. Okay, very good.
A screwdriver.
A screwdriver.
Opening the 7-Ups.
7-Up.
Dozen.
A dozen.
7-Up cans. Anti-dandruff shampoo.
Anti-dandruff shampoo. AD. Yeah, okay. Anti-dandruff shampoo.
Telescope.
A telescope.
And lastly, the condom.
And lastly, the condom. So, is this a great list? He remembered everything very well. Now, actually, there are even more techniques that you could remember great things. Now, if you want to try with this, if you want to just try, if you tomorrow just try to remember it again, and the day after tomorrow, when you wake up, just remember that again. Just remember the story in your mind. You will remember this until the end of the semester. Yeah. Okay? Thank you very much. My lecture is done. I am willing to listen to some of you if you want to talk about your project. if you don't want to talk about your project, choice is yours. Anyone would like to present his project to us, to seek feedback, to tell us how is he or she planning to please listen to me. I know you are eager to leave. If you are facing any challenges in attracting the online students and you want some advice on that, if you are facing any difficulty in having a project, you please let me know. The project will be a key element. You pick the right project and the right team and everything fits in place, including maybe you will raise 10K and you are exempted from the final exam. You pick the wrong project, don't have the team, and things will be compounded because you are assessed for the project, you are assessed for the quality of the campaign, and so on and so forth. So please, if you have any issue, share it with me. So I am available now. Anyone would like to, anyone has any question about the lecture, specifically the course in general, or his or her project?
I really like the technique for the memorizing the thing.
Memory Palace.
Memory Palace, yeah. I would like to know another strategy to memorize the things.
You want another strategy?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah, just an example, like small example. Just.
Okay, he wants another strategy. Should I give him the other strategy? Do you want a strategy to memorize cards?
For exams, it would be better.
For exams. Yeah, so what do you want to memorize for exams? You have to tell me specifically what do you want to memorize.
Formulas.
You want to memorize formulas?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the most thing like confusing us.
So why don't you use the Memory Palace for this formula, for the formula as well? So imagine the density is who, and if it's the density is the mass of a volume, so the mass could be him, the volume could be this guy, and he's riding on him. Yes, actually, the more graphic, the more memorable. And if I tell you how do they memorize the cards, you will find it amazing. Yeah. Yeah, but about the course is okay. You just want to improve your memory. Yeah. But I can direct you to books because it's actually a sport. So it's an athletic thing that you need to train for. So I could direct you to sports that will improve to books that will improve your memory, provided that you really exercise the technique. Anyone would like to present his or her project? Okay, I'll sit here. If anyone want to ask me questions, you can. Those who would like to go, you are free to leave. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.